What's up, guys? Today we are going to be checking out a deep dive into College Football 25's Dynasty mode. This is what we've been waiting 10 years for, and it's just over a week away.
Hey
Let's
everyone,
hop into
Kirk
it.
Street here with EA Sports College Football 25.
This
Back
is going to
for
be insane.
another deep dive. This time we're talking about everyone's favorite mode, Dynasty.
I can't wait.
Online Dynasty in College Football 25 can accommodate up to 32 teams, and you can play with friends for up to 30 seasons.
30
Today we'll take a
seasons.
closer look at the new 12-team college football playoff.
New playoffs?
Recruiting, the transfer portal.
I just can't
and
wait to
a ton
recruit.
of customization options to make your program unique.
I'm excited to see what they've changed.
College
It was
football has seen seismic
fun back in the day,
changes
but I'm
over
sure
the
it's
past few years.
even
And
deeper
in
now.
EA Sports College Football 25, you can experience this new landscape while building your program the way you want. The 2024 season marks the debut of the new 12-team college football playoff, and you can play it first in the game months before the real thing.
That's pretty
You
cool.
could be the first coach to lead your school through the new 12-team playoff and hoist the college football playoff trophy. Recruiting is the
Here we go.
lifeblood of college football. And in a world of unlimited transfers, managing your dynasty roster has never been more important.
Oh my gosh, there's
Evaluate your needs and opportunities for talent upgrades at the start of each season. The best way to build a powerhouse is to recruit through the high school ranks.
we're going to slow this down at
So
the end
let's
and
fill
kind of
up
go
your
through some of these
recruiting
menus.
board. Each year, over 3,500 high school recruits are generated from all over the country. with
3,500
certain
from
regions
high school.
representing real-world hotspots for blue-chip talent, like
Plus, you
South
also have the
Florida
transfer
and
portal.
Metro Atlanta. Do research to find recruits that best fit your program and determine who you can realistically land. A recruit's interest in your school is decided by 14 different pitch grades like proximity to home, playing time, and brand exposure.
Oh
So you'll
my
need to
goodness.
discover how your program's pitch grades align with your recruit's desires, in addition to scouting for talent. Some players have a deal breaker requirement, and if your program cannot provide, the recruit will lock you out.
Okay, that's pretty
Deal
cool.
breakers also drive a player's decision to enter the transfer portal. Monitor at-risk players and get one last chance to convince your favorites to stay. Track
my
your
gosh.
recruits as they narrow down their top schools. Pitch a prospect to gain more interest, and then set up school visits when the timing is right.
So your players can get
It's
upset and want to
crucial
enter the portal
to
and
remain in
transfer
their
away
top
from you too.
10, then 8, then 5 to finally be part of their top 3. As a recruit trims down to the top 8, you can attempt to increase your appeal. If your school doesn't have exactly what the prospect is looking for, you can try to sway their opinion in your favor. Plan visits that elevate a recruit's experience, like pairing a quarterback visit with a wide receiver visit at the same time.
Oh my gosh.
It's crucial to keep an eye on the transfer portal when it opens in the offseason to round out your roster with talent you couldn't land from recruiting. Add portal prospects to your board just like you would with recruiting, but expect quick decisions as transfers have a shorter timeline to land a new home.
So the portal is going to be similar, but it's just going to move
Conference
quicker. You're going to have to make
realignment is
moves
a
quick
hot topic in
to
college
lock people
football.
in.
And with custom conferences in EA Sports College Football 25, Dynasty is yours to control. See what a 20-team super conference might look like, or revert to the traditional conference alignment.
Dude, the
Shape
level
the
of
conference
customization.
size and membership, and set custom conference rules, set up divisions, and more. Once you've settled your
Completely
conference
custom
options,
conferences.
it's time to select your team. Begin with a highly ranked team and dominate at the top with repeat recruiting and playoff success. Or build from the ground up with a smaller program and prove you have what it takes to go from an unknown to
Kennesaw
postseason
State.
favorite.
First year of the
We can't
BCS.
talk about your dynasty
A lot of people are gonna
without
use them.
talking about your starting job. Start as an offensive or defensive coordinator and climb the ranks to head coach. Or take over a program as the head coach right away.
Could you start as a coordinator
Choose
before? I don't
from
think you
one of the
could.
3 base coaching
Back in the day.
types to start.
Oh,
Your coach type will determine what coaching skill tree you start with.
Hold on, let's go back and see that a second. We're going to go back. We're going to talk about the recruiting too. Motivator, get your players to play their best by boosting their ratings and composure. Nobody has it better than us. Recruiters, Jimmy and Joe's, not X's and O's. You scout faster, recruit better than any other type of coach. Or tactician, boost your players' ratings on game day, scheme out the big plays, and let the visor fly. Ooh, I feel like motivator or recruiter's the way to go.
The abilities you acquire as you progress will determine what kind of coach you develop into.
Wow.
Unlock additional skill trees with better abilities. Or if you build up multiple skill trees, you can unlock hybrid trees that leverage a more diverse skill set.
Oh my goodness, man.
The coaching carousel is an important part of every coach's journey. Whether you're the head man at your dream school or working your way up, the carousel is your way of fielding offers from other programs. Head coaches in Dynasty can actively manage their coordinator positions. So if one of your staff takes a job elsewhere, or you decide to cut ties for other reasons, you can use the carousel to replace them. Remember, even the greatest coaches need support, and every coach has a unique skill tree. It's important to think about how you want to build your staff, whether that's doubling down on your existing strengths to max out your benefits or seeking out balance for a well-rounded staff. Choose wisely. The decisions you make here will matter to your program's success and your coach's progression. The benefits of coach talents are stackable. So if your head coach and defensive coordinator have the same ability, the impact for that ability will be greater. Well, that's it for today's deep dive into Dynasty mode in EA Sports College Football 25. To make it game day every day this season, pre-order the MVP bundle.
I cannot believe how close we are, dude. This is ridiculous. So obviously recruiting is the thing we are most excited for in this game. It's what makes these college football games special. And I have so many memories, dude. I cannot wait to spend hours upon hours in these menus. 3,500 recruits every year that you get to go after and hopefully end up landing. So it looks like this is kind of like your main recruiting card. We're looking at Luis Lucky. He's a wide receiver from Parker, Colorado. He's a deep threat. So even before scouting, that kind of tells you what type of a player he is. He's probably pretty fast, probably good at getting open and catching the ball downfield. 5'10", 182. He's uncommitted, so he's open here. You could see you have all these different actions, searching his social media, DMing him, contacting friends and family, sitting in the house. You kind of have to be careful with this stuff. You only have a certain amount of time that you can allocate towards certain players, and you've got a whole team you have to recruit for, so you can't see into everything at a 5-star recruit you end up not getting, and then you kind of ruin your offseason. So this is crazy. Look at this. What was it? 14 different things: academic prestige, athletic facilities, brand exposure, campus lifestyle, championship contender, coach stability, coach prestige, conference prestige, playing time, pro potential, playing style, proximity to home, program tradition, and stadium atmosphere are all of the different motivations that he can have to potentially come to your program. Obviously, starting with a big school, a lot of this is going to be pretty easy. You're going to have a ton of prestige, a ton of lifestyle, brand exposure, stuff like that. But I intend to kind of take a pretty crappy program and bring them up. So that's going to be harder at first, but then later on over time, you'll be able to land better ones. This is what you want to see. This person playing is Colorado, and it looks like they're up there in front. They have offered a scholarship, and Brian Hall is looking like he's very strongly considering that. Dude, the fact that they said that you can play bad enough and not treat them well enough that they will leave you and go to the transfer portal. You don't just have to lock the players in, you also have to keep them, which is crazy. Oh my gosh, dude, I remember spending so many hours and looking at these and just trying to land those 4- and 5-star recruits. And when you actually had one commit to you, it was like a level of satisfaction and perseverance I've never felt before. Yeah, look at this, man. Some of the 5-star guys. Look at this lineup of schools. You're battling against the best in the nation to be able to catch some of these guys. This is just ridiculous. It's going to be so hard, but it's going to be so rewarding. Ooh, you can use friends and family as an action. That's pretty good if he's got, some family, alma mater, that sort of thing. You've also got different pitch strategies you could use. Like this one is student of the game. Looks like we've got at least 20 different strategies you could take. This one focuses on your academic prestige, coach prestige, and proximity to home. TV time here works on brand exposure, championship contender, and playing time. Try to get that NIL money. They can lock you out, which I can't remember if that was an NCAA 14 or not. But again, the fact that recruits can either choose to say, no, I don't want to come to your school, or I'm tired of playing at your school, I want to leave is kind of wild. The fact that there's a sway option, if successful, this will add your chosen ideal pitch as the recruit's ideal pitch for your school only. Easier to sway when part of the proposed pitch matches his ideal pitch. So you can basically gaslight your recruits into thinking they would have come to your school. Timing is going to be a big deal too. You could see what they're doing on certain weeks, what other visits they have scheduled. So you want to make sure you're playing a good opponent or an opponent you can beat so that they have a good time on campus that week. The fact that you can combine visits of, quarterbacks and wide receivers and stuff is cool too, dude. Just the level of detail here is ridiculous. Last but not least, another thing I absolutely love that we saw here is that when you're creating your coach, you can either choose to be a head coach, an offensive coordinator, or a defensive coordinator, and that's kind of how you start and you work your way up from there. The skill trees are gnarly, and then the fact that you can actually choose your coordinators instead of just having them randomly assigned and then working with them and they develop as they grow and you grow, and it's just like, it's so much deeper than it was back in the day, and I can't wait to see how this all works together. So they have a really long blog post. I'll link this down in the description in case you guys are interested, but we'll just go through some of the highlights here. So your coach progression is obviously tied to playing games and how you perform and winning and things like that, but you can also get XP from draft, how high up in the NFL draft your players go. That's exciting. You want them to do well. Of course, you've got those individual game goals. Recruiting is going to be a really big thing. I think I'm probably going to focus on recruiting mainly, and then stats like being in the top 10 and everything else. But that's crazy. Depending on where your players go in the draft, you become a more legitimate coach. Coach archetypes are essentially meant to be like an RPG game. So you start off with kind of a base class and you work your way up from there. We did see that we had the motivator, the recruiter, and the tactician, but you're going to be able to develop those, combine those, separate those. You can focus all on one, focus on a combination. I really like this one right here, a talent developer who is great at both talent acquisition, recruiting, and player development motivation. I feel like that's a pretty good spot to be in. 11 different archetypes, each with their own focuses and perks. Together, they form a rock, paper, and scissors relationship where there's no dominant archetype. Dude, no coach can be great at everything. You got to build a team around you. You got to have good staff around you, good players around you. This is just so ridiculous. Here we could see some of the recruiter perks. So like running backs take less time to fully scout, increase starting interest from running backs, increase your weekly recruiting hours for running backs, etc. Okay, so recruiting is about stages. You've got discovery, pitch, and close. Discovery is the initial stage where you find prospects to target, what their skills are, what they care about most. The sooner you discover this information, the better, as time is of the essence, because then you can move on to the pitch stage once you're in their top 5. During that, you are selling the recruit in your program and what you offer. How well your school aligns with their motivations will determine how successful you are. And then the final stage is close, where you bring them in for an official visit, attempt to leave a lasting impression. If it goes well, you'll make huge gains and possibly even secure a verbal commitment. Ultimately, they will make their decision on signing day. Oh, wow, brand exposure literally it's about NIL potential that they could earn at that school. So how much money they can make playing for you is a big part of it. Again, going to make it tough for smaller schools, but that slow, steady grind is going to be worth it. Each season, more than 3,500 recruits are generated from across the country. Just like the real world, every class is different. Some years have a plethora of great quarterback talent, while others have fewer great prospects. Similarly, the quantity and quality of the prospects from each region will vary. Certain regions will be more consistent in the caliber, quality, and type of recruits they produce than others. And then obviously, depending on where your school's from, you're going to have more advantages for finding those pipelines and getting those players close to home. Dude, this is so ridiculous. When you think about it, I think it said 30-year online Dynasty. It might be even longer if you're playing offline. Southern California is known for producing great quarterback talent, while East Texas consistently produces some of the best wide receivers in the country. However, we didn't stop there. We wanted to go deeper to ensure we were capturing the authenticity of high school football talent. Yes, East Texas is known for producing great receivers, but more specifically, they're known for how big and physical their receivers are. As a result, you're going to see bigger and more physical receivers coming out of East Texas, whereas South Florida is going to produce incredibly fast, deep threat receivers who have a smaller size. Bro, the level of detail here. The pipelines have been reshaped into 50 different pipelines. So you've got North Florida, Central Florida, South Florida, Metro Atlanta is its own pipeline. Places like New York and New Jersey, where it's not as big, are going to be combined. So you're going to have, we've got 50 states that we're working across here, 50 different pipelines, but some are split up more than others. Recruiting hours are your core currency to spend on recruiting actions and scouting each week. The amount of hours you have depends on your team prestige and what part of the season that you're in. So higher team prestiges have more resources. They're going to be able to recruit more. Lower teams are not. So a 5-star program is going to have 1,000 recruiting hours compared compared to only 350 for a one-star program. Dude, that is going to be so tough. Time of the year also impacts it. During the preseason and off-season, you don't have to prepare for a game each Saturday, so you have more. In addition to the maximum recruiting hours you could spend a week, each prospect has a maximum number of hours you could spend on them in a given week. Default is 50, but this could be increased to a max of 70 with the always be recruiting ability. This is what scouting looks like when it's at 0%. You have no idea any of their attributes and stats. All you've got is like their name, their position, their tendency, and things like that. Then as you go into more scouting, you can start to get some ranges and you'll start to get some actual numbers. And then as you fully scout them, you're going to have the real information. They go from unscouted to partially scouted to mostly scouted to dude, this is just, it is so deep. Okay, so of those 14 motivations they can have, 3 of them are the ones they care the most about. So if you can find those 3 and pitch with those 3, that's going to be your ideal pitch. That's going to give you your best chance of landing a big recruit. This is crazy, dude. You can find them by searching their social media, spend time scrolling through it to learn a little bit more about them. To give you a little bit of influence, you can this. It's just gonna be so good. Oh my gosh, I'm reading this whole thing. Players can choose to leave depending on the performance of the team, who you end up hiring, firing, or if a coach decides to leave, maybe they decide they want to end up going pro or entering the transfer portal. Once they decide to leave, you'll have an opportunity to persuade them to stay. Dude, this is wild. You also have the ability to make roster changes, so you can straight up kick people off. And of course, the transfer portal is going to be a big deal. Hope you're not losing too many players there, but it's just another pipeline of recruiting that moves a little bit faster. You don't have to work on a player for, an entire year and hope they commit to you. You can kind of nab them pretty quickly. This is just so ridiculous, dude. So it's all about the gains. Your players will get better as the season goes on based on their on-field performance, but the bulk of their gains are going to happen in the off-season, which is typically how it works. You get in the gym. To simulate the real-world difference in physical maturity between a freshman and a senior, younger players like rising sophomores will take larger leaps during the off-season than a rising senior. Similarly, a player's coaching staff will have a significant impact on their development. For example, motivators can have the pay it forward ability, which yada yada yada. Okay, so your team is constantly going to be ebbing and flowing, and you got to think, like, obviously you hope that some of these guys make it to senior status and you've got the biggest, baddest dude on the field, but at the same time, if they're that good, they're going to think about going to the NFL, so then you got to persuade them, please don't leave us yet, stay with us one more year. It's just, there's so much going on. My goodness, you could see some of the ratings and the stats and the perks and the abilities. It's just it's so deep. Of course, you've got wear and tear, so depending on what happens on the field and in games, they take a big hit, something like that, you can have increased chances of injuries. So you got to make sure you're taking care of people, subbing people out, giving people breaks. And here towards the end, it looks like it's talking about the new playoff format and custom, conferences and things like that. Dude, this is just, it is going to be so absolutely ridiculous. 17,000 words and 85 pages in this blog. I didn't even do it justice. There's so much information in here. Again, if you guys want to check it out for yourselves, I'll link it down in the description. But I have not been this excited about a sports game in a very, very long time. We are only about a week away. I can't wait to fire up a Dynasty and a Road to Glory here on the channel. Hope you guys are excited too. I've been trying to think about what school I want to start with. Definitely want it to be kind of a rebuild or a build style. I don't want to start with like a major powerhouse. I don't know if we should go for like a 1-star or a half-star program, or if we should try to go somewhere in the middle, like maybe like a 2 or a 3-star in Florida or Texas or something like that. So it's kind of a mix of both. We'll see what happens. But hope you guys are excited. If you guys have any school suggestions, let me know down in the comments, and I'll see you guys in a week. Peace out.